Okay, hey everybody, let me make sure I get my screen up there. Can you see it, Annalisa?
I can see it and I can hear you. Yoo-hoo!
Good. So, welcome to the Marketplace webinar, the add-ons and extensions webinar that kind of touches upon the Marketplace stuff. Last week we did a big tour of everything in the Marketplace in Conversion Plus and KV Core, and we're going to kind of for this series start to walk through the different options you go through there in depth. And probably the one that's most frequently used is our Done For You advertising, which I happen to know a lot about because I run that department and talk and think about this area a lot, and it's kind of a big one. So we get a lot of questions about how to follow up on the Done For You advertising leads. So I'm going to focus on conversion practices for the sake of today, but also going to kind of touch upon what these products are about in the marketplace. So specifically, what I'm talking about are the Google buyer ads, the Facebook buyer ads, and Property Boost right now. If anybody has any questions, if somebody could just say, yeah, I can hear you, that sounds good. If you are already getting our advertising, the Done For You advertising, I'd be curious to see a show of hands in the comment box. Just say, yeah, I'm doing it. And feel free to, share positives or negatives. We get both. We get people who love the service, and we get people who really dislike the service and want to cancel because they don't get results. And the biggest thing I see is that sometimes it's our fault. We have trouble delivering. It's very rare, honestly, but every now and then that happens. But really, the bigger problem I see is with the follow-up for the person receiving the leads. And I wanted to do this session to sort of give everybody some best practices and maybe inspire people to get in the right mindset about these leads. Hey, Paul, cool to have you here.
Hey,
All
it's
right.
Mr. Dunn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, we are recording this. It will be sent out to everyone. And I did place the doc link if you want to follow along on your own or save it yourself into the chat so you can all access it right now.
And Paul, since you're here, feel free to chime in with any thoughts you have, because I know you know a lot about this stuff too. Um, so let's go in and we're going to start digging in, and I'm going to start with some expectations with respect to paid internet leads. So what we're talking about is our Facebook buyer leads, Property Boost, and Google, where you just kind of click a button and then our team does all the work and leads start coming in. And the biggest thing, I know we all know this, but I want to kind of really stress it, is that most internet leads don't want to buy now, right? They don't have no idea who you are. They're kind of cruising on the internet. They might be Googling on Google, or they might be interrupted with an ad on Facebook. And most of the leads coming in are just kind of checking something out and are not ready to buy and sell tomorrow. So Annalisa wrote here, think slow cooker style, not a drive-through, nothing burger. And I really like that. Yeah. So, another big point here is that results improve over time with consistent follow-up. And it's probably maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago now, I built this little tool using a form called the calculator that we have linked from the doc. Maybe, Annalise, you could drop that doc to everybody. You might have already.
Yep, I'll grab it right now.
And the calculator kind of makes some assumptions. And I haven't been challenged on these assumptions. I've been waiting to be, and they are kind of based on what I see and have seen. It's taking a minute to load here. Just worked before we came on. Here it is. And what it does is it just asks what your follow-up scenario is, and that's the first question. And it's, are you doing any follow-up? Do you have a drip response in place? And how long are you incubating for? And the assumptions kind of increase the follow-up ratio, the conversion ratios based on what you put in there. And if you play with this tool, I'm not going to do it now here live, but it gives you the suggested conversion ratio, and then you can plug in your average sales price. And if you play with this, you'll kind of see how the numbers, can change for you. I think I assume, a 1% if you just kind of get the leads, no follow-up, hot leads only. It's a 0.5, right? So a 0.25%. And the interesting thing is, if you use this tool, even a 0.25% conversion rate, if you're talking about an average cost per lead of about $8 with our Facebook leads, can work out. So if I haven't used this in a while, but let's just say we're in a market with a 250 average net commission, we'll use 2%. Value per converted lead is 500. Amount you will earn per lead generated, and that is not a good example with no follow-up, hot leads only. But that's good, right? I mean, it's important to see. Now, if you start to have higher ratios and you follow up longer, you'll see that the actual ROI starts to go up on your leads. So for those of you losing audio, it happens with GoToWebinar. We don't know why. It's frustrating, we understand, but just we'll always have the recording for you. So use that calculator tool. I'm going to get off my high horse with this whole internets don't want to buy now, and if you convert over time, you'll convert more, because I think we all know it, right? So these services are about a blend of short and long-term gratification. I have a note here. One thing I see is that, I've been there myself. Selling real estate is tough. I've been there more than I like to admit, where like a deal falls through, or you just have like the pipeline kind of dries up because you got too busy servicing what you have and you didn't keep the pipeline full, and you need deals now. And I see people order our a la carte advertising services kind of hoping for a miracle to happen, like, oh, this is a last ditch, and they throw some money at the problem. And it, kind of can get you into a deeper hole if you expect for the results to be instant. So what I have here is, if you're tight financially and need deals now, don't pay for these leads. I would recommend our social posting protocol in the learning portal, which requires a little time. You might have to, work an extra hour every day, stay up later or whatever, but won't put you in the hole financially, and will get you a similar lead flow if you're consistent. So is that fair enough? I mean, I'm not trying to preach, but I just, I feel bad when I see it, and people are, they get really frantic and almost desperate sounding, like, I haven't on any deals yet, but you've only had the service for 2 to 3, 4 weeks, and that's kind of naturally how they flow. I just want to be realistic.
Well, and that just always goes in with the setting expectations and kind of having your eyes open on, okay, if I invest this time in myself, into my business, what could be my results be? So it's like setting that timeline and keeping it realistic, I think, is the biggest goal, I would think.
Yeah, and Paul's saying something really good, that is, he picked the right number. He's saying don't expect anything really for about 3 months, kind of my thought when starting. And that's a really good number, because that's what we use on our commitments. When you order the Google and Facebook from us, we look for a 3-month commitment. It's not because we really want to lock you in, or that we even make much money on this service, frankly. It's a 90% pass through and 10% goes to management. It's that it takes 3 months to really start to incubate those first leads that came in. So yeah, really good point. These success plans right here, Annalisa, what are these? These are just in the
Those are both in both of the portals. There's one that is specific to K Plus and one specific to KB Core. They both read very similar. It's just they're 2 different products. Okay. But it just speaks to setting your expectations, setting your work week up and your follow-up, so you have all of this kind of flowing as part of your plan.
Cool. So let's start to look at the individual services. And guys, feel free to ask questions, but the first one is the Google buyer advertising. This is pretty much what it sounds like. This is where somebody Googles Tampa, Florida real estate, and in Google up pops an ad. Now I was hoping to get one of ours. I don't really want to click anyway, and show somebody's and cost somebody some money. But basically, you'll then see an ad. You'll show up at the top. We usually aim for 1, 2, one of the top 2, maybe 3rd position. Sometimes we don't always want to be top because we'll be paying too much for the lead. And we have a lot of data that helps us adjust our bids accordingly to get you most leads for your money. But basically, somebody clicks through here. They go to your site. So trying to think of a good domain, and I'm drawing a blank. Who do I want to use as a guinea pig here? We'll just grab this one because he's on my mind right now, my buddy Josh. And they just go straight to a property search. And they're eventually prompted to register. So I think we all know this, but basically what the service is people come to your site, they're prompted to register with an email and phone, okay, straight off Google. And what we see with that is a few things. First off, there's more intent with those leads. It's somebody who's like going to Google, maybe they're thinking of moving to your area. That's one scenario. They're getting like a job transfer or something, right? And or they're thinking of moving to somewhere better like Florida. Right, and they Google Tampa, Florida homes, and they actually have some interest right away. There's more intent, or they already live in your area and they want to see what's for sale. So these are generally going to be closer to buying than Facebook leads are. One thing with Google is that there will be hit and miss contact info is what I wrote here, because I can easily go in here and write Mickey@mouse.com, even though we have some validation in place, and I can give a fake phone number right here, right? So hit and miss on contact info, but in general, if you leave the phone number optional, I'm seeing about 30 to 40% at least will usually give it and be honest. So the commitment for our Google is $500 a month, 3-month commitment. If cell phone is optional, in most markets, you're gonna get between 30 and 40 leads a month for that budget. If cell phone is required, you're gonna get less leads because people will bounce off when you require the phone number. And they'll also give more fake numbers when they require the cell number. And, this question comes up a lot, and people tell me, well, a lead with no cell numbers isn't a real lead. And for the purposes of this discussion, I would argue that it is, because the way we define a lead is somebody in your database. That's what these services are for. These services are not referral quality. I call you up and say, my brother wants to buy a house in your market. Leads. They are not that quality. This is about putting people in your database who might want to do business with you someday. Okay, so that's the Google service. The Facebook service, and let me get you an example of the ads here. I have some screenshots of our ads.
I'll grab the links and add them to the doc too.
Yeah, I think I put this in the extras. We have a whole tour of all this. Yep, but here's kind of what they look like down here at the bottom. So, and these are just a few examples. A lot of times we'll use condos. Katie, who has been doing this for years with us, is really good at optimizing these ads. So just depending on what you're doing, we will, if we see that we're getting more leads from a just listed offer or price reduced or a general, or if we're having trouble, we'll change it over to condos. I just know that you have somebody actively monitoring your campaigns and trying to get you the lowest cost per lead possible and changing up this ad copy at all times. Okay. I'm waiting for somebody to ask the question too, so I'll just answer it because I'm kind of waiting for it. But as far as keywords go, we have a bunch of them. So any keyword you can think of, we probably have that and then some. And what we do is we have them all in the campaign to start, and then we'll optimize down based on what keywords are performing better. All right, so Facebook. Facebook leads, which you can find in the marketplace. In the KV Core marketplace, I think for some reason they're priced at $250. In the K Plus marketplace, they're priced at $200. I think we'll have to get those in line soon, but there's a 3-month commitment on those, and generally you can expect 25 to 40 leads a month for that budget. Some people do way better, some people do a little bit worse, and a lot of times it mirrors the cost per lead in your market. Generally, I can always increase the lead count. Me and Eric on the team can increase your lead count with some jockeying. So if you have a campaign going and you kind of want it looked at, it doesn't feel like you're hitting that $7 or $8 per lead mark, we can always get it up with some creativity. Here's what the ads look like. Here, I'm kind of going backwards on these bullets, so let me open this in a new tab. Here's one. Open these in two new. GoToWebinar is seriously bogging me down. So here's one where I got a little more creative and I did a video. And what I want to show you is what the user experience is. So what we use out of the box is the Facebook lead ad process. And the lead ad, I think they call it the lead generation objective. What it does is if I click learn more, it pops a field up. It pops a form up that's pre-filled with the information Facebook has on file. And what most people will do, they won't take the time to change this number. On mobile, they do it really quick. They'll hit submit, and then they are continued and automatically logged in to the site, and then we start tracking the property views right away. So what you get from this type of ad, so here's one example, here was the other one, just so you have it. Fixer Upper did really well. We actually use static images. I'm sorry I didn't have that example here. In most cases, these are two that I went and got a little more creative on because we're testing and trying to get new creatives that work, and these will become standards eventually. But anyway, what you get with this is really good contact info. So in most cases, you're going to get a cell number of a real person, not because people give Facebook their actual mobile number. But you get less intent because what happens is somebody's on Facebook, right? They're just chilling out and they're going through their stream and they're looking at cat pictures and doing this and this. And then they're like, oh, this is interesting. It's a real estate ad. But they might not have been thinking about buying real estate at that minute. Yeah, Paul's asking, automatically logging in. That's pretty slick. Zapier ? Yeah, that's our secret sauce, Paul. We have some geeks who built us a native API bridge from our Facebook ad account into Facebook, and I don't know how it happened, but it's a really cool thing. So guys, that's a good point. If you use our Facebook service, you don't need all that Zapier stuff and all that complex setup, and plus you get the benefits of having other people run it for you. At the end of the day, I would rather order this personally than have to set this all up myself. So good question, Michael. I'll answer that in a second. So yeah, Facebook, people getting interrupted, we inject the information straight in and auto log them into the system. Question, can I get seller leads? I'm a seller's agent. I seek listings. Which is better, Facebook or Google leads for this? My favorite question in the whole wide world. We had seller leads, and what we used to do is we did this for a long time. We ran people at the sell page, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with these pages. They work, and they work well when somebody is actually the seller of the home. What we find when you go on Facebook, even Google sometimes, when you go on Facebook, a lot of times you're going to get the cousin, the son, the daughter who wants to know what grandma's house is worth. And you end up with a lot of address-only ads the way this is built. And we end up with a lot of frustrated agents and customers who say, I'm only getting the addresses, people aren't continuing to give me the info. And the real reason is they're either not the homeowner or they don't want to share the info. And the big thing is they know they can go to Zillow. So I'm not trying to say, no, we don't do this. It's just we don't do it currently, and we are actively trying to figure out a more efficient way to deliver a seller lead per se that actually works. We don't like selling things that don't work. Now, the second part of my answer is, I personally think that you're going to generate more seller leads at the end of the day by actually doing the buyer side campaigns, because a percentage of those people will have a house to sell. So if you're putting a lot of contact info into your database on the buyer side, there's no reason why a good percentage of those wouldn't be homeowners in your market looking to upside, downsize, if you're doing investor focus offers and things like that. And I go into this in depth in the learning portal. There's a seller lead generation course, and I have a whole module about how to generate and convert seller leads, why we think these buyer leads are better. So yeah, so long answer, Michael. It's just maybe we'll be able to do it again sometime soon. We just can't right now. We need to figure out a better way to feel good about charging money for it. For now, the buyer leads are the way to go. Paul's saying not available for us DIY ad guys. Sorry, no, Paul. It's just something we were able to connect up with Facebook. You may be able to do the research yourself and get your ad account connected, but you would need developers and all this other stuff, to do that. All right. And then when you start talking about that, Paul, then Zapier just starts to look pretty good. All right. So that's Facebook. And I have here, so generally across the country, we do about $8 per lead on that. If you do this yourself and you do creative offers and you go with the low-hanging fruit like fixer-uppers, foreclosures, things like that, you could definitely get the lead costs down. But I'm giving you the across the nation numbers for generic kind of just listed campaigns that we run. Okay, so that'll be all over to us. Now, let's get into my favorite product here. In full disclosure, this, I don't think it'll happen, but if enough of you guys order Property Boost, I won't have a job anymore. Just kidding. But Property Boost, in my opinion, even though I might not have a job anymore, is so cool and is the one I would personally order if I wanted to get a lot of leads into my system, because it just offers a ton of leverage for your business. And what Property Boost is, if we go in, Property Boost is a way to quickly run one of those Facebook lead ads that I just showed you, where all the information gets filled into a box. Is a way to quickly run one of those with the click of a button for specific properties. So if I click Boost Property, I'll just start typing any old number in here. And the cool thing about Property Boost is there's a number of them. One, you don't have to do any 3-month commitment. So you can run this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks for a single listing. And it's kind of like you don't have this recurring payment that you're signing up for. So a lot of agents really like that. You can run it for 1 week at $60. You are advertising your listing, which you have to do anyway. So that's cool. We're servicing our listings per the terms of our listing agreements with the seller. Property Boost actually sends reports to your seller client, and I apologize for not having an example of that report live. I might be able to dig one up in another window. But it'll tell your seller client every day how many impressions and clicks they're getting, so it makes them happier. It gives you the ability, I think, if you run a boost, say you run it for 4 weeks, and then you circle back around with the seller and you say, hey, we've gotten maybe 100,000 impressions, X number of hundreds of clicks. We've generated a bunch of buyer leads around this thing. People have opted in to get more info about your property. I have the cell numbers. I've been calling them. And really, there's just a lot of resistance on the price. So that's a conversation that you can back up with data, and it could help you get more price reductions, right? And if you get the listing properly priced, we know it's going to sell faster and you'll have less expired. So this little investment, the 60, 120, all the way up to 240, really not only will get you leads, it helps you sell more of your listings faster. And the very cool part, what we are finding is that these leads specific to properties are coming in at between 25 and 50% cheaper than our regular Facebook buyer leads. So we're talking $3 to $5 a lead in a lot of cases here. Don't hold me to those numbers. I haven't looked in a while, but after our initial push, we did about 300 to 400 of these. That's where they were coming in. I think it was like 4 something across the board. If you have inventory, or even if you can get permission to advertise the listings at your brokerage over another agent, I would actually go here first if you just want to get leads flowing into your system. Now, it's not going to be a high intent lead. It's hit and miss intent, I'll say. So a lot of them will just be curious neighbors, homeowners who want to know how much the house is selling for, right? Which is cool. You're putting homeowners who might list with you someday into your database, playing to the seller lead question. Or you may get people who do actually want to buy that specific property because they're like, that's awesome, I want to buy in that neighborhood. So you can get the occasional really hot lead on a specific listing. It's awesome contact info and database building because you're getting the cell number, the email the email address and the name. Leads on specific listings. It is our cheapest cost per lead right now. Very happy sellers, as I said, because the communication is happening automatically. You look cool. You're doing stuff. Also, I don't have in here, good in a listing presentation. So you can show the example report and the data from one once you've done 1 or 2 and talk about what you did for another seller. So it can help you close listings. And again, you don't have the 3 to 6 per lead. And if I can really push this, we have a number of brokerages who are doing this for all of their listings, or maybe a certain segment in a certain price range. And this can be really awesome for your brokerage. More signs in the ground. I call it virtual signs in the ground, right? So it used to be, we drive around town and we'd be like, oh, this company owns this town, and then you would get that brokerage who has the market share gets more listings. This is a way to do that digitally, where everywhere, if you're advertising all your listings in a specific geographic area, people are like, wow, that company is really everywhere I go online. I'm going to list with them because they're the big game in town, right? They start to trust your brand. Then the other reason is leads for your agents. So I'm speaking to like team leaders and admins here. So it's an easy way to get leads for your agents. En masse, that whole question of listings selling faster. Really, I mean, if you've got inventory in the hundreds of listings and you can get them, as a whole to sell, I don't even know if it's 3 to 5% faster because your agents are able to justify price reductions and sell them faster. That can really ripple through to GCI. And recruiting. So there's a good recruiting angle. Come in, we are going to do this for all your listings for you, or we're going to share the expense with you, or we'll do the first 10 free, whatever you want to offer. You have it there. And I don't know that anybody is doing this yet, but in the back of my head, I'm wondering this could become potentially a broker profit center. Maybe you charge your agents directly and then order direct from us as the entire brokerage. So just a little tangent there. I just wanted to bring that up about Property Boost.
Now, there was a question that came up. Michael was saying, hey, what about probate leads? I am the probate man. I sell probate properties. And what do you think about the use of Property Boost to buy probate properties he's listing?
as long as the listing is on your site, we can do it. Are you adding? The question: are you adding them as manual listings? Because I may need to check
Right.
to see if we can do Property Boost on a manual listing.
I'm going to pop in and check while you're continue.
At least I have a doc that Diego sent me
Okay.
that probably has the answer. So I'm going to forward that to you in another window real quick, and you
Okay.
can kind of read through it. I'm getting it right here. I meant to kind of look through it and then add it to the docs and forgot. But that's a great question, Michael. You know, if we can't somehow do it through Property Boost, I have some videos, earlier webinars that kind of show how to do this process yourself, and you could certainly kind of manually do this with Facebook and Zapier, and do that. Yeah, they are manual. I mean, that whole probate, that's an awesome angle though. I guarantee you'll get a nice cost per lead on that because it's just something really unique and cool. The investors are probably going to opt in all day if you work that segment of the market. But yeah, anybody who has off-market listings as a hook, I would reference the do-it-yourself Facebook ad course that we have there to kind of learn some of that. And if you go into any of our groups and say, hey, I want to have somebody help me run these ads, you'll have like 50 guys who who will try to help you and charge you. But yeah. Where would be in the learning portal? So when I talk about our courses, it's in the learning portal at the bottom left. And then if you go into the lead generation section, that's kind of where I'm going to, probably a lot of stuff I mentioned on these webinars will end up living there. So here's the Facebook course and the Seller Leads course there. Cool. Okay. So, all right, we kind of did the tour, and I said in the beginning that now let's get into how to be prepared and follow up with these. So, you know, a lot of what we see in the advertising department is people order this because, you know, it is an easy button and leads will start coming in and they'll like kind of hit and miss call the leads as they come in, or maybe they call every lead, but they don't set up the stuff that the system is designed to do, right? This is a Ferrari that you have your hands on here, whether it's Conversion Plus or KV Core. And if you set it up properly, you're definitely going to get a better return on your investment on these ad programs. First note with respect to that is that you're going to watch and leads are going to come in with specific sources and hashtags. Now, if you are already getting our leads from us, you might be getting different sources and hashtags. We kind of had some source changes recently, but anything as of the date of this webinar here in mid-May 2019 moving forward should be like this. So your Facebook will come in with KVFE buyer and so on. And in Property Boost, I believe starts with PB and then the address. Now, what you can do is create routing rules and drip campaigns based on these sources and hashtags. And Annalisa did a great job yesterday. I was on with her walking through step-by-step in KV Core how to set up drip campaigns and trigger them based on sources and hashtags. And tomorrow's webinar will be the Conversion Plus version of that at 2 p.m. And we'll make sure we get a link to that on the doc once it's recorded. But you're definitely going to want to make sure you create drip campaigns based on these leads coming in that sort of cater to the mindset of that kind of lead. So if you know that it's a Facebook lead coming in and they probably don't have a lot of intent, maybe a good question to start with is, hey, thanks for hitting my site, where you just thanks for finding us off the Facebook ad. Really speak to their experience. Are you thinking about buying or selling soon, or were you just curious about that property? Something like that. So I'm not going to go.
Well, I was going to say, in addition to speaking to hashtags, there's those two links up there about the power of hashtags of KV Core and K+. I really encourage everyone to take a peek at those as well, because it speaks to all of the different ways you can leverage a hashtag. So if you're setting one up for a subcategorization or a squeeze page or a landing page, it can trigger a smart campaign or a drip. It can trigger a listing alert. So you can work all of this together, put a little sweat equity in now, and you're going to have some really great things automated and set up for yourself.
Yep. Yeah, Paul, we'll get you the doc pasted into the group again. So here in KV Core is kind of what that looks like. We have the lead routing. If you're ordering leads for your whole team, you'll just want to make sure it's set up right to, you know, go to the right people who you want to be getting these kind of leads. And you can do that all here with the rules. And then for the marketing autopilot, same thing. As you build campaigns, you can set triggers that they're for. So rather than go deep into that today, I'm going to mention this as sort of one of the big first things you want to have in place either before you order or right as like that first lead or two comes in, make sure you're getting this set up right away. Next thing, Annalisa, right, and this is probably the biggest, I see a lot of people failing here, is set up the alerts.
Yes, yes. It should be like, if in your head you feel like it's a new lead, set up the alerts. Make sure they're set up, because everything you send out via your dashboard is going to bring them back to you. And that's the whole point of these links, to bring people back to you as that main source of communication and expertise. So get that communication going.
Yeah, so what we're talking about, the system will automatically try to set alerts, but definitely look at if you're paying money for the leads, especially, make sure you go into each one and set up the alert. And I have a note here, if you don't know exactly what they're searching, just guess. You'll just do every listing that comes up in your core market area in a certain sweet spot price range. They'll always tell you if they want something different. And remember, you can trigger alerts with a hashtag via the power of link above. It'll show you how to do that. So if you want to, you can always set the same alerts for the hashtag of our leads coming in. So if the hashtag contains PB for Property Boost, maybe you set a certain kind of alert every time.
And just as an aside to that, there's a lot of visuals on your dashboard that can tell you maybe you need to contact someone to see if something needs to be adjusted. So we have a lot of visual clues built in to help you create those causes of contact and checking in with folks.
Yes, true. Yeah, I mean, definitely focus on the new leads, right? That kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
Yes, or like if you look at someone's history and all of a sudden they're looking on the east side of town instead of the west side of town, or something's a little different, or maybe they finally got pre-approved and they're looking at a range of like 450 to 5 instead of 650 to 7. So you can kind of help them adjust accordingly.
Right. So actively set up the alert, set up your drip campaigns, set up your alerts. One of the ones that's becoming more and more so very much more important, because more of the industry is hopping on this and you want to stay competitive, is retargeting. And we have a retargeting one-on-one course, but retargeting is basically where somebody visits your site and then you start to follow them around with ads on Facebook and on different channels. So I have a little mini course. It's small. It doesn't take long to get through, but it'll give you the nuts and bolts of how to do that on Facebook and Google. And here's an example of one I set up. I think this is going to be Shane's ad for our success coach, Shane. And here's an example where Shane is just giving his phone number and doing a quick little video in stream after somebody visits his site. So, somebody comes, they come off of a Property Boost ad. They have no idea who you are. They opt in to get information about the property. They get your drip campaigns. They start getting listings. They start seeing your name. Then you can hit them with the real video of yourself actually, saying hello and offering your phone number. That's going to really up your conversion rates on those leads. They're putting a name to a face. So I show you exactly how to do this ad in the Facebook course. And yeah, that I would definitely try to set this up if you can. And I just have a note here. We are definitely thinking about offering retargeting as a done for you service, hoping sooner than later, but it should be coming. In the meantime, you have the course there to guide you along and show you how to do it. Next point for all your leads, stalk on Facebook in a cool way. Try to send them friend requests. If you want to find out more about someone, you can do the skip tracing tips. Annalisa has a great video about how to kind of stalk and skip trace people there. So,
but in a very kind and gentle way.
Yeah.
Not creepy.
Yeah. So, if you reach out, like on Facebook, you send them a friend request, they get back, maybe they accept it, and just say, hey, thanks for being on my website. I saw you went to Lakewood High School. So did I. What class were you? And just start talking to people and having conversations. Okay, next thing, when you call and text and get crickets, don't cry. This goes back to the initial point. They're not ready for you yet. Don't be frustrated. Just keep your head down on building your database. That's what these done for you services are for. They give you an easy button way to build your database. If you have the follow-up campaigns in place, you set up the alerts, you do the retargeting, a good percentage of people, an increasing percentage of people will reach out and talk to you without you having to stress so much about the quality of the lead. So my biggest, one of my frustrations here is we'll get people who get a couple of weeks of leads, and they'll call or they'll send us support and say the leads are weak. Right? The leads are weak. Well, they're not weak. They're just not ready. And all of these things here will help you convert more of them. So Analytics has a few links to the KV Core and K Plus ways to build your SOI, some scripting stuff, and some of our recent webinars. The Pipeline to Paycheck is a really good webinar to watch related to filling your database with leads. It touches on some of this stuff. Any questions here?
He's saying you're rocking it, man.
I hope this was useful for everybody. I'll tell you honestly, I wanted to get this content down just so we could show it to the people ordering our ads. So thank you for being on. But hopefully this helps some of you guys who are not only ordering ads from us, but if you're doing your own lead gen, I hope you find value here. And if there's no other questions, we can get off early today. We don't have to stay here for no reason, right, Annalisa?
Yeah, I think just the last reminder is we do have those 3 new courses that are happening. So we have KV Core Centric on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We have the add-ons extensions like the third party of which we're speaking to today on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Thursday, we are K Plus Centric at 11 a.m., 2 p.m. Eastern. And there's a link there right below that reminder where you can see each of those courses and register individually for the interest. So please be sure to sign up so you get those reminders on your calendar.
Jay is asking about BombBomb integration. Just an off topic. Jay, I don't know. I can just ask real quick and kind of message you in Facebook. I'll ask the guys, how's that look? Please have someone call me about Google PPC. Alan, can you do us a really quick favor? If you just email advertising@insiderealestate.com and just leave your number, we will call you back. It'll be Samantha who calls you back. Or drop your number here and I can try to screenshot it and give it to her. All right, Paul. How do I get the main page with all the options? Do I even have it with EXP? Yeah, the marketplace page. So when you go into marketplace, I think EXP has the option unless they turned it off. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure if you click marketplace, Liz, it'll be there. Cool, thanks, Alan. Thank you, everybody, for the feedback and participation, and we'll see you tomorrow if you're Conversion Plus or Tuesday if you're KV Core.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.